This is the huddle. He is Tony Farmer. I am Ninja. Tony, let's talk NFL 2025 win totals. I know it's early, but Tony's already locked a couple picks in. I'll get to those in a second. First, though, Tony, we talk a lot about the importance of shopping around for the best number when it comes to something like a point spread. Any given week in the NFL, it's important if you have a bet in mind to give yourself the opportunity to shop around and find the best value so you're not leaving anything on the table. But can that same logic be applied to betting something like win totals? Is there enough variance from shop to shop to be able to find better value?
Yeah, in fact, I'd argue there's more variance. I mean, whether you're talking about the actual win total number or you're talking about the vigorish on this number, it's a big difference. I'm going to be talking about the Seattle win total here in a minute, and some books had it at 8.5. Some books have it at 7.5. I've seen the Broncos win total. I saw like an under plus 125, and then another book had like a minus under. I think it was 105 or 110 or something like that. So huge differences in these markets. But then also remember as well that these season win total markets go on throughout the year as well. So not only do you want to consider, do I want to bet it at this book or at this book, also consider, do I want to bet it now? Or is this something that I want to bet later in the season? And when the NFL schedule comes out, that's a huge piece of the puzzle, because you might like a team's under, but if they start the season against 4 really good playoff teams, you might be better betting that week 5 when they're 0-4 or 0-3 or something like that. So keep those things in mind as well. And then the all total markets. Sorry to interrupt there, Ninj. That's another piece. A lot of those aren't out yet. Sometimes the books need a little bit of time to come up with those. But if you feel really good, like this is way off, I think this team's actually only going to have 2 wins and the number's 5 or something like that. The Patriots were a good example last year. They had an alt number that was pretty juicy that a lot of people hit on. I think I recommended it on our show last year. So the alt markets are something to consider as well.
And it's interesting you talk about, or you mention like just pumping the brakes and waiting for other NFL offseason sort of landmarks to kick in, like the draft, like the schedule release, before you make those wagers. And I do want to ask you about a couple of teams or team that you have in the back of your mind, but do want to wait to see. But before we do that, these have been out for a couple of weeks, and you don't need to give away your picks or anything here, but did any of these numbers really surprise you when they got posted? Like that just made you pause, or made you like just sort of and ha? Did anything jump out at you when you initially checked these out?
Yeah, I was really curious what the Chiefs number was going to be, because obviously the Chiefs always get a lot of respect in these markets for obvious reasons. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, etc. You got the Super Bowl hangover narrative, so you're a little curious there. The Chiefs lost some guys, though, Ninja. I don't know if people realize it. They lost Justin Reed, Joe Thuney, Tershawn Wharton, a big part of their defense. So Chiefs lose a bunch of guys. Would you agree the Chargers are an ascending team? Would you agree the Broncos are an ascending team? The Raiders, not really a huge threat, but they're going to be improved. So you got the Chiefs in this division with 3 teams around them that I would argue are getting better. Their roster seems to be getting worse. So I was curious what that number came out at, 11.5. So BetMGM minus 110 at 11.5 to the under is interesting. I haven't bet it yet. This isn't one of my official plays, but I was really curious to see what books were going to do with that number.
Is there a more public team in this era of the NFL than the Chiefs?
My goodness. I mean, oh man, I feel like I'm sick every time I bring them up, because they've caused 49er fans so much pain. They caused me pain in the Super Bowl because I actually bet on them to win the Super Bowl, and that hurt. So the Chiefs have just abused me over and over. But yeah, they're the team that everybody's looking at and curious what their win total is going to be when it comes out. And I tell you, this referee narrative, which the Super Bowl is going to make that narrative go away a little bit. But let's not forget what we saw during the regular season last year with referees and close games and blocked field goals. And there was definitely a lot of luck involved in the Chiefs getting the number of wins they got in the regular season last year.
So talk to me then. I know you have a couple bets already locked in for 2025 win total. So break them down for me. What do you like?
Yeah, I like the Broncos over 9.5 wins. You can find that at plus 125 at FanDuel. Definitely one of those cases where you want to shop around because there are a lot of numbers that are worse than this in the market. In Sean Payton, we trust. I'm someone who's been very critical of Sean Payton in the past. We've got to give this guy credit. The Broncos were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the entire league last year. They were a playoff team. They played like a playoff team. Bo Nix in his second year. That's got to excite you a little bit if you got this number. They've added some nice pieces on defense, Ninja. Your guy, Hufunga, your guy, Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers. I think the Broncos, as I said earlier, are an ascending team. You can get a plus number like 125 over 9.5 wins. I know it's a tough division, but I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, the addition of two former beloved 49ers players on that defensive side of the football already to a very good defense. So that's interesting. The problem with Hufunga is always the ability to stay healthy, to play a full complement of games. But I wish nothing but the best for him. But no worries about regression with this Broncos team then?
I mean, you've always got to worry about it. Like nobody expected the Texans to regress last year after the season that they had. So could you see Bo Nix regress in the way that Deshaun Watson regresses? Not Deshaun Watson. CJ Stroud regressed. I suppose that's possible once tape gets out, but I think the Broncos are going to be an ascending team. The other thing that I like about them, Ninja, is their schedule. Remember, they've got the third place schedule. So they play the Raiders twice. They play the Jaguars, Titans, Cowboys, Giants, Texans, Colts, Jets. Nobody really scares you in that group. They do have a couple tough games, obviously, against the Chargers and Chiefs, but a lot of the rest of their schedule is pretty soft, and I think ripe for the picking for them to hit 10 wins.
And what's your second pick here?
Next up, I've got Seattle under 8.5 wins, minus 155 at Bet365. Paying some juice on that. This is largely a fade of Sam Darnold. The Seattle moves on from Geno Smith, very underrated quarterback in the league. I think Sam Darnold was largely a product. His regular season success was largely a product of the offense he was in and the weapons around him. You're not going to have DK Metcalf in Seattle. You're not going to have those great wide receivers that you had in Minnesota with you, Sam Darnold. I expect him to struggle. As much as I love Mike McDonald and that defense, and I was bullish on Seattle last year. Love me some Mike McDonald. 8.5 wins, though, seems a bit high for the Seattle team. And talk about the division again. I think the Rams are going to be really good. I think the 49ers aren't going to be a pushover. I think the Cardinals are an ascending team too. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Seattle finishes fourth in the West. So at 8.5 wins, that seems a little rich for my blood.
Cardinals sitting there with 8.5 wins on the board as well. So odds makers expecting, as we have the past couple seasons, expecting a step up from this Cardinals team. So, they could be poised for a bit of an uptick as well. So was there anything that you are still on the fence on and that you might bet later on in this offseason?
Yeah, I'll give you one. How about the Vikings leaning over 8.5 wins here? There's a lot to like about the Vikings, but there's one big reason why I haven't bet it yet. So first of all, what is there to like? They added Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. They brought in a couple offensive linemen to solidify the offensive line. I love that they're rebuilding the trenches on both sides of the ball. That's a good thing. But the one worry you got to have is about JJ McCarthy. His health for sure, but also it's essentially going to be his rookie year. You and I both were on Caleb Williams or the Bears under last season because they had a rookie quarterback. This is essentially going to be a rookie quarterback here for the Vikings in year one. But there have been some rumors about the Vikings signing Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Schefter came out and said, no, there's nothing to that. So it would be interesting to see some practice reports on JJ McCarthy. How does he look? How healthy is he? Do the Vikings bring in a veteran quarterback? So because there's some uncertainty there, I'm not betting it yet, but I like that Vikings over 8.5 number.
Am I crazy to think the Giants over 5.5 is in play? Plus 125. The under is minus 150, Tony.
I love the plus numbers on these season win totals because it's the NFL. It's the NFL and crazy things happen. And go back and look at season win totals, what they were, what they came out at last year. And a lot of these sports books will miss the total by 4 games, 5 games in some
Yeah.
cases. We talked about a team like the Broncos. So if you can get plus number on something that you really like, it starts to feel pretty good for sure. So I don't hate it. But what's your rationale there? What do you like so much about the Giants?
I think it's an exponential increase in talent under center. You've already got
Yeah,
good
yeah,
playmakers, you know, and now
yeah,
you have better quarterbacks. I don't know, man. There's
yeah.
just there might be something there. I'm not going to bet it yet. Like, let's see how this pans out. They've got a good draft coming up, so